Testimony today. What stood out to you in particular about the testimony we heard about drug use and the drugs that were found in the car several months after George Floyd's death?
Well, we heard a lot of testimony today about the chemists and the fentanyl and methamphetamine levels. The fentanyl levels are generally consistent with what you see with street drugs. A former narcotics prosecutor. The methamphetamine levels, though, were surprisingly low, generally around anywhere from 2 to 3%. That's not what you typically see on the street. I know the most recent chemist said she sees 90%. That's very high, but typically somewhere in the 40 to 60% range of pure methamphetamine is consistent with street level meth.
Now, as jurors hear this testimony from the forensic scientists, a lot of it procedural, a lot of it wasn't the most compelling testimony. But one scientist talked about the fact that she was asked to re-examine the squad car as well as not Derek Chauvin, George Floyd's vehicle. And she talked about finding the pills 6 months later. What impact do you think that will have on jurors, if any?
A pretty sloppy investigation there. You're supposed to do a thorough search of the vehicle, incident to any arrest, much less a death case like this. So obviously disappointing there. Something that the defense is going to hammer home on cross-examination and during closing argument. As we know, the best defense sometimes is a good offense. So you can see what Nelson is trying to do. Go after the state, go after these officers, and try to point the fingers at others, whether it's the drugs or whether it's Maurice Hall, who may allegedly be responsible for George Floyd's death.
We're going to take a quick break and bring in our chief legal correspondent in a moment. Stay with us. And Neama, really quickly, was today a win more for the prosecution or defense, and why?
It was a win to the extent that Sergeant Steiger did testify that that angry crowd was not in any way a danger to Derek Chauvin, and he should have rendered it. So I love that testimony. Didn't like the cross-examination of Ryerson, where he said that, Floyd, and he changed his position, of course. Floyd said he may have ate too many drugs. Didn't like that at all.
All right, we will continue our extensive coverage of the Derek Chauvin murder trial. Of course, Dr. Laura McNeil, thank you for joining us, as well as Neama Rahmani. We appreciate your time. The World Tonight with Kelly Wright and Nayara Huck is coming up next. I'm Denise Toussaint. Have a good night.